In 1970, a single was released that nobody expected to become the best-selling song of the entire year. Not from the Beatles, not from the Rolling Stones, from a fictional TV family, a widow, her 5 kids, and their brightly painted tour bus, who had just appeared on American television screens for the very first time. I Think I Love You by the Partridge Family sold over 5 million copies. It knocked out the competition and sat at number 1 for 3 weeks straight. The show ran for just 4 seasons, 96 episodes. It ended in 1974, and then the lives of the people who made it went in directions that nobody could have predicted. One of them became one of the greatest teen idols the world has ever seen, and died with a secret he'd kept for decades. One fought brain surgery, addiction, and homelessness, and refused every single time to go quietly. One walked away from Hollywood completely, and became the most intriguing mystery in the show's entire history. And one, at 92 years old, is still here, still sharp, and still one of the most decorated actresses of her generation. 56 years later, here's exactly where they all ended up. And I promise you, the story you don't know about number 2 will change how you see the whole show. 1. Shirley Jones, Shirley Partridge. Before she ever set foot on that painted bus, Shirley Jones had already won an Academy Award. That's the thing most people forget. By 1970, she was a bona fide Hollywood legend. Oscar winner for Elmer Gantry in 1960, musical film star of Oklahoma, Carousel, and The Music Man. She had worked opposite some of the biggest names in cinema. And then her agents came to her with a sitcom about a family band. They warned her, "If this becomes a hit," they said, "your film career goes into the toilet." It became a massive hit, and her film career went into the toilet. She said in interviews she knew exactly what she was trading, and chose it anyway, because it meant staying home to raise her kids. What nobody warned her about was the chaos that would surround her co-stars, including her own real-life stepson sitting across from her in the recording studio every week. Her personal life was complicated in ways the show never showed. Her marriage to Jack Cassidy, David's father, ended in divorce in 1974, the same year the cameras stopped rolling. She later remarried comedian Marty Ingalls and stayed with him until his death in 2015. In 2013, she published a memoir that stunned fans with its honesty, candid about her marriages, her career sacrifices, and the private dynamics of the Partridge Family set that never made it to air. Shirley Jones turned 92 years old on March 31st, 2026. Her son Sean Cassidy posted photos of her birthday lunch. She looked magnificent. At 92, she remains one of the only people from this entire story who came through it all completely intact. And she earned every single year of it. From the woman who gave the show its soul, to the young man who gave it its hysteria, and whose final years held a truth that nobody around him fully understood until it was too late. 2. David Cassidy, Keith Partridge. He was 20 years old, and within 12 months of the show's premiere, he was the most famous teenager on the planet. Not television famous, not sitcom famous. David Cassidy was Beatles-level famous, sold out arenas, screaming crowds, a fan hysteria that shut down city blocks when his motorcade passed through. The posters, the lunch boxes, the teen magazines that couldn't print his face fast enough. For a brief, extraordinary window of time in the early 1970s, David Cassidy was the center of the pop culture universe. And he hated almost every second of it. Behind the smile, behind the perfectly choreographed performances, he was drowning. The music wasn't really his. It was manufactured for an image he'd never chosen. The fame left him no room to be a person. He turned to alcohol. He married 3 times. He struggled financially despite earning millions, because the machinery around him consumed most of it. In 2017, David Cassidy stood up in front of an audience and announced he had dementia. He was 66 years old. The crowd that had once screamed his name went silent. He passed away on November 21st, 2017, just months after that announcement, from liver failure at 67 years old. In his final days, he told a reporter, "I want to be remembered for the music, But in his very last moments, according to those who were there, he said something else entirely. His final words were, "So much wasted time." 3 words that carry the whole weight of what that level of fame can do to a human being who never asked for it in the first place. His daughter, actress Cassidy, now 39 and starring in Arrow, carries his legacy forward. And the music he made, the real music he cared about, has never sounded more heartbreaking than it does now. From the boy the world worshipped to the boy who grew up beside him and survived everything the world could throw at him by sheer force of refusal. 3. Danny Bonaduce, Danny Partridge. He was 11 years old, red-haired, fast-talking, always running some angle, always 2 steps ahead of whatever trouble he'd just caused. Danny Partridge was the show's comic engine, and audiences loved him unconditionally. What came after the show ended in 1974 was brutal. Danny Bonaduce spiraled. Drug addiction, homelessness, arrests. A stretch in his 20s where he was sleeping in a park in Phoenix, broke and unknown. The kid from the Partridge Family reduced to surviving on the street. He has never shied away from any of it, has spoken about it more openly and honestly than almost anyone in Hollywood history. He rebuilt through radio, became a massive name in morning radio in cities across America. A career that suited his instincts perfectly. Reality television, comeback specials. He got married to Amy Railsback in 2010 and has described her as the anchor that kept him from losing everything again. Then in 2022, something started going wrong. His walking became unstable. His speech changed. He saw doctor after doctor after doctor, 100 doctors, he said, and nobody could tell him what it was. Finally, in 2023, he got a diagnosis: normal pressure hydrocephalus, fluid building up inside the brain, pressing on the tissue, stealing mobility and memory, often misdiagnosed as Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, treatable if caught. He had brain surgery in June 2023, the day after he posted 2 words on social media: "I lived bitch." In 2024, he gave an interview where he showed a photo of himself in a wheelchair visiting the house he now lives in, a house he had no memory of seeing before, despite having visited it multiple times. The disease had taken that from him. But Danny Bonaduce at 66 is still fighting, still refusing to disappear, still exactly the kid from that show who never once went quietly. From the fighter who refused to quit to the woman who was supposed to be the wise older sister and whose real story behind the camera was darker than anything the script ever asked of her. 4. Susan D.Y. Laurie Partridge. She had never acted a single day in her life. Susan Day was 17 years old, a model, when she walked onto the Partridge Family set in 1970 and was handed the role of Laurie, the sharp, principled older sister. She made it feel completely real, and for 96 episodes, America believed in her entirely. What was happening behind the scenes was something entirely different. The pressure of sudden fame at 17, the loss of any normal adolescence, the constant public gaze, it pushed Susan Day into anorexia, a battle that unfolded entirely in public without anyone around her naming it for what it was. There was also something else. She fell deeply in love with David Cassidy during the show's run, a fact Shirley Jones confirmed in her memoir. David didn't reciprocate. When the show ended, they briefly pursued something, and then he ended it. Years later, he wrote about it in his autobiography. Susan Day has never spoken publicly about it, and she stopped speaking to him after that book came out. She rebuilt brilliantly. LA Law from 1986 to 1992 gave her Grace Van Owen, a role that earned her a Golden Globe and 3 Emmy nominations. It was one of television's most impressive reinventions. And then, in 2004, she simply stopped, retired, moved to upstate New York, declined every Partridge Family reunion ever proposed. No social media, no red carpets, nothing. Susan Day is 73 years old in 2026. She is the only cast member who has consistently, completely, without exception, refused to look back. Shirley Jones mentioned her in the memoir as the one person who would never return. David Cassidy once said that getting Susan Day to a reunion was always the impossible question. Whatever she's protecting by staying away, she has decided it's worth more than the nostalgia. From the woman who disappeared completely to one who died far too young, and whose quiet life after the show deserves so much more than the ending she got. 5. Suzanne Croft, Tracy Partridge. She was 7 years old when the show began. The youngest face on the set, tambourine in hand, always smiling, always in the background, adding something warm to every family scene. When the Partridge Family ended in 1974, Suzanne Croft made a decision that was rare and clean. She walked away from Hollywood entirely. No struggling for roles, no reality television, no convention circuit. She got married, raised a family, built a career in retail management, lived a private, deliberate life far from the industry that had filmed her childhood. On April 27, 2015, Suzanne Croft passed away at just 52 years old. The cause was cardiomegaly, an enlarged heart. It was sudden, completely unexpected. She had not been publicly ill. The girl who had brought quiet sweetness to millions of living rooms was gone before she'd even reached 60. Her former castmates were devastated. Fans who hadn't thought about the Partridge Family in years found themselves genuinely grieving for someone they'd watched grow up on screen. 52 years old, the youngest cast member gone first. Some stories don't get the ending they deserve, and Suzanne Croft's is one of them. From a loss that came without warning to two men who filled out the world of that show, one of whom turned a handful of guest appearances into a second life nobody saw coming. 6. Gordon Jump and Brian Forster, the ones nobody expected. Gordon Jump. He appeared in 7 episodes of The Partridge Family between 1970 and 1974. Small supporting roles, guest spots, the kind of work a character actor grinds through while waiting for something bigger. Nobody watching those episodes would have predicted what came next. In 1978, Gordon Jump landed the role of Arthur Carlson on WKRP in Cincinnati and became one of the most recognizable faces on American television almost overnight. Then he became the Maytag repairman. Alone, patient, waiting for a machine that never breaks. One of the longest-running ad campaigns in American advertising history. He ran it for years. 7 guest spots on a family sitcom, into a beloved TV sitcom lead, into a cultural icon. Gordon Jump passed away in 2003 at 71 from a respiratory illness, but left behind one of the quietly extraordinary second acts in television history. Brian Forster. He joined the show in season 2 as Chris Partridge, 11 years old, stepping into a cast that was already established and a show that was already a phenomenon. He held the role for 71 episodes. And here's the detail that stops people. Brian Forster is the great-great-grandson of Charles Dickens. One of the greatest writers in the English language is in his direct bloodline. After the show ended, he did something nobody expected. He became a racing car driver. Traded studio sets for tracks, speed for sound stages. In 2026, Brian Forster is 66 years old and living proof that the show never could have written the life he actually chose. And then there's the number one, the one the whole show was built around after David Cassidy, the one who is still fighting today in ways that would stop most people cold. 7. The legacy, what the Partridge Family left behind. 56 years, a painted bus, a #1 single that outsold the Beatles in 1970, and a cast of people who went on to live lives that were messier, braver, sadder, and stranger than anything those 4 seasons ever put on screen. The mom who traded her film career for the show and turned 92 still celebrated. The teen idol who sold out arenas and died whispering about wasted time. The red-headed kid who hit rock bottom and came back through brain surgery, still posting on social media the day after. The model who never acted before who won a Golden Globe, and then disappeared so completely that even her former castmates couldn't get her back. The youngest one, gone at 52. The guest actor who became the Maytag repairman. The great-great-grandson of Charles Dickens who became a racing driver. The Partridge Family gave America something it needed in 1970. A family that wasn't perfect, in a world that was anything but, singing their way through it together. The cast spent 56 years proving that the music was the easy part. It was everything that came after that took real courage.